What is going on, guys? My name is Moto, and today you're going to be watching the first addition to the track editor tutorial series slash helpful tip slash, I don't know, honestly, I have no idea what, honestly, I don't even know what this is going to be called, but this is basically a series to kind of help you guys along with making your tracks and, creating tracks that are solid to ride on, that don't feel overwhelming or underwhelming or too simple, too not simple, too spacious, all this extra stuff. This series is going to kind of be sprung off of Wyndham 151's Does Your Track Suck series, and it's going to kind of try to help you guys along with getting some good tracks out there that aren't too crazy, that fill up the stadiums, that work really well, that flow really well, and overall, work pretty good, and in hopes that maybe we could get one of you guys to actually get the very first ever 0 stars on Wyndham 151 series. Now, I don't know if he'd be giving those out necessarily of 0 stars, because obviously that means it's pretty damn good. There's not a lot to complain about with it. In the last video he actually had a track that I thought was pretty solid. He gave half a star. Which is solid. I honestly thought he was going to give it a 0 star rating, but he didn't. But, we'll see if we can get you guys to get the very first 0 star rating track. So, without further ado, let's hop into this track. Now, I've already laid out the track, and this track, or I guess this video is going to be, talking about the way that you lay out your tracks and kind of how to get started into track building. So, what you'll automatically notice is, well, actually you'll notice it right when we round this corner, is what the hell, where's all the jumps at? There's literally no jumps. So, one thing that I do whenever I make my tracks is I try to make sure that the stadium is filled really well, and that you can kind of, get a good run through everything, that you have enough space that you feel you can put some rhythm sections that aren't too insanely large, make it so that we have a very good surface of racing, make it long enough so that it doesn't feel like it's gonna take like 12 seconds to get through, make it so that it's got a variety of different style corners. Obviously we got a bull corner there, and then we come straight back to the finish line. Now, I will say this track is actually already made. I just deleted all the jumps off of it after I ended up putting it online. If you do want to play the actual track that is on this layout here, it is called MESX, I believe. It's obviously by me on PlayStation 4. But basically, the first tip that I can give out is when you actually go to make a track, you want to make sure that the track fits inside of the stadium well, that it uses up the space that it's given, and honestly, in my opinion, one of the keys is to actually build the track in a way where it's flat at first, so that way you can kind of see how spacious it is, and then you can actually build the obstacles that you want inside that track layout, so that way you have the layout down that you want, and you can make compromises on the jumps. Now, a lot of people are going to probably get turned off by that, like, Moto, well, what if I'm having a vision in my mind of what I want the jumps to be like, blah blah blah. And if that's the case, I would say just, pick a different stadium, make the section a little longer, and reconstruct it in a different stadium. In no way, shape, or form do I want to come off and say that, real quick, that tracks that are not inside the smaller stadiums that don't use the entire stadium are bad. In fact, I think that there's a lot of good tracks that don't use the entire stadium. Some of my buddies have made tracks that don't use the entire stadium. I personally believe that if you go into the larger stadiums and you build a track that literally uses the entire stadium, like that's probably a little bit big, don't you think? A little bit long. Like, we're not going to be running like very many laps in a 10-minute moto, if that makes sense. But you know what I mean? Like, in no way do I want to say that making a track that is inside of a larger stadium that doesn't fill the entire thing is bad. I just think that it's a very, very good thing whenever you can make a track that fits the stadium, but isn't too long, all this stuff. If it fits the stadium, that's awesome. That's honestly, I think I've made like 2 tracks outside of the small stadiums here, like the football stadiums, that have gone into like the large football stadiums. One of them was like a Vegas version of the MOPC round that I was going to host, the Moto Open Pro Championship. that ended up not happening, which, by the way, a lot of people are asking me if we're bringing that back. No, we are not bringing that back. I am sorry. Possibly MXGP Pro, probably not, though. I'll probably just defer you guys to Noma. Again, those guys are pretty good at what they're doing from what I'm aware of. I haven't been really necessarily keeping tabs, but I know that they do a pretty good job over there. Got pretty solid management, all that stuff. But regardless, I did a MOPC Vegas style round, and then I think I did a Vegas replica. No, I did the very first track I ever envisioned making in this game that wouldn't fit this, but I did try to fill that stadium. So let's hop real quick into the overview of the track, so that's way you can kind of see kind of how I envisioned this track and how I made this track. But regardless, back to the subject at hand. When you make a track on this game, I feel as though it is best to try to strive to make the track fit the stadium, flow really well, have enough room to really put things down in it, but you don't want to make it too crazy big. So what you notice is that I did end up putting the start stretch flush up against the wall there, so that way it would go really well. I also tried to ensure that it was, you know, as good of an angle as possible. With this straight, it's very hard to determine whether the track is actually going to be going in like the horizontal direct, which this track does not end up going perfectly horizontal the way I wanted it to, but it does go pretty close. You can tell just by if you look over at the north end, which is what we're trying to move the cursor to. You move it up to this north end here, and you see that it's very flush against the wall right there, but it starts kind of fading away from it there, minorly. But, you know, you want to try to align it so that it works really well. So what you'll also notice with my tracks is a lot of the time, the very first section where it goes up against these walls is almost pretty much directly flush. I try to make it close to that so that way you can align it really well. And pretty much every single time that I'm testing out an idea, the first thing I do is I make sure that I can get up to that wall and that it goes directly with the wall if I'm trying to do that. That way it kind of just works well. You can see that it flows and all of that stuff. So we'll switch to a long straight so you can kind of see. When I'm laying these out, I normally use long straights for the beginning and then short straights at the end, so I can kind of fit in as close to the wall as possible, the 180, 90, whatever it is, and then you kind of just switch off to long straights again. Boom, obviously end it with short straights, and then you basically just construct the track from there. One thing I will say is I personally really enjoy it whenever you have a sweeper styled like this, sort of like, I believe it was Foxborough 2017, where part of the track, actually right off the beginning of the track, you would hit a rhythm section, do a 180, and then come back, do another rhythm section, hit a 180, and then they had whoops here, which in the actual version of this is my finish line right here. But then you can use the 15-degree corners here to make perfect, like an absolute perfect, like right on the edge, perfect distance away bowl corner, where it's, I mean, just think about it. Look how perfect that just goes right around, and you stop right there. That's a 90-degree corner, and it's just like it works just so well. So that's my tip for today, I guess, is, you know, product placement, making sure that you kind of, at least in my opinion, one thing that you could do is just lay the track out flat first, and then, you know, make sure the spacing is really good and that you get some unique kind of styleage to this track. I will say, you know, this Supercross tracks in these kind of stadiums can't be too crazy unique with the design. I don't think I've ever seen a track that does this exact thing in real life Supercross before, but I mean, I could be mistaken. I could be an idiot. More than likely I am an idiot and I just don't realize it. But regardless, you want to make it so that it flows really, really well, and you know, you want to get that vision of what the track layout above it looks before, because it just helps the creative process. So anyway, guys, hopefully you did enjoy this. Again, in no way, shape, or form am I saying that I am the almighty and that I know how to make tracks and you don't. I'm just giving my tips and recommendations on how I would make a track and kind of approach it. I guess back myself up, I do have a couple of tracks that have been received really well by the community on the PlayStation 4 side, being Atlanta 2018. I've made a couple of Arena Cross tracks. I've made a couple of MOPC rounds that are really, really popular. I think my very first ever, my favorite track that I've ever made got received really, really well. So I do have a little bit of experience with building the tracks and getting some pretty good reception. I don't want to say that I'm the best builder, but I do have some pretty good, I guess, knowledge on how to make a pretty good flowing track. So anyway, guys, hopefully you did enjoy this video. If you did, please leave a like, comment down below the tip you want to see for the next thing, whether that's product placement of like jumps, whether that's spacing of jumps, whether that's how to build jumps, since I voice cracked super hard there. You know, whatever it is that you're kind of feeling like you really struggle with when you make tracks, just let me know down below in the comments and all that good stuff. Like I said, the goal of this video and this series is to try to possibly get the very first ever 0-star rating track from one of you guys, whether it's, hell, you know what, it could even be me, because he said that, you know, there's specialties possibly going to go into certain profiles and look at those tracks. I don't recommend probably doing that. It'd be cool, but I want to really try to get you guys out there and, you know, get you guys some really cool tracks that you made featured on channels like that. That would be awesome. That's the main goal of this. So, anyway, guys, hopefully you enjoy this video. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. There's going to be a lot more of these style videos. We're going to record with the Elgato in the next videos after this. Probably going to be on MX vs. ATV All Out and all of that good stuff. So, anyway, guys, that's pretty much it. That's all I got. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, like I said. And, yeah, anyway, my name is Moto, and I'm out. Peace. Goodbye.